Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. I will be your host. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you. All right, welcome into another day of your daily devo with Pastor Rick here. We're jumping into John chapter 5 and the Pool of Bethesda. The Pool of Bethesda, the house of mercy. The house of mercy, most likely what that word Bethesda means, and it kind of fitting as you read the story. So, just coming off of John chapter 4 and Jesus healing the son of the man as he came to him and said, "Hey, my son's dying," and Jesus said, "Just go on home. He's healed." And I just love that he listened to Jesus, he believed what Jesus said, and then he obeyed what Jesus said. I was just like, really struck me. It's just crazy. Like, the Bible is just so good, so full of things for us to grow in and learn. It's like I kind of even skipped over that yesterday, but felt worth going back to it just for a moment. Let's go into verse 1 of chapter 5. After this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. So John really uses all of the Jewish festivals in his writing. So kind of an interesting thing to just keep your eyes out for as you're reading through. And by the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there's a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, which has 5 colonnades. So within these lay a large number of the disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. So I love the fact that Jesus went to these people. He didn't avoid them. He went to them and he cared for them. And so if you notice right here, it goes from verse 3 to verse 5. And that is because reading out of the Christian Standard Bible, the CSB, is one of the translations where verse 4 is not in every manuscript. Some of the texts out there have verse 4, and it talks about the angel coming down and stirring the water. It was essentially like a superstition type of thing for their time period. Doesn't mean that it wasn't actually true. Like, it could actually be true. God could have done that. So nothing saying God couldn't miraculously heal people like that. But as far as why it doesn't show up in the Bible, it's just because the CSB certainly would be on the more conservative side of Bible translation. And so they leave out verse 4 and then put a footnote in the text of the Bible to let you know why there's no verse 4 in the easy reading part. You have to go down to the bottom of the page to find verse 4. It tells you what it says. It tells you why they didn't include it. So that just good information to know about Bible reading and all that good stuff. Anyways, so one man was there who had been disabled for 38 years, which in their time period, a very long time to live. So to be disabled for that long, kind of crazy. So when Jesus saw him lying there and realized he had already been there a long time. Now, there could have been natural indications that he'd been there a long time, but a lot of scholars, a lot of just normal people reading scripture say there's like a supernatural kind of revelation, kind of a word of knowledge, a word of knowledge essentially for him. So then asks him the question, "Hey, do you want to get well? Do you want to get well?" And what a question for Jesus to ask somebody that's been there for 38 years. But I think, he's like trying to speak to the hope in the man's heart. Like, do you have any hope? Is there anything in you stirring to respond to an opportunity? And verse 7, he says, Sir, the disabled man answered, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me. So he's just like, I don't have any community. I don't have any people to help me. I'm stuck on my own. I don't know what to do. He didn't totally answer the question, but he did. I don't know. Is he just stating the way things are, or is he being a little bit of a victim? Like you could kind of go either way here. Like, are you making excuses, or is that an accurate, description of what's going on? And Jesus said, "Get up." Jesus told him, "Pick up your mat and walk." I mean, Jesus wasted no time. So apparently, this answer, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up. He was out of options. He had no help. He's looking at Jesus and saying, no one else can help me. And Jesus' response to no one else can help me is get up, pick up your mat, and go home. Come on, Jesus. I mean, do you just want to get up and start clapping your hands and give Jesus a little standing ovation right now? Come on. Like, drop in the comments, like, yay, Jesus, let's go. And instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Now they tell us a little extra piece of information. Now that day was the Sabbath. The plot thickens. Verse 10, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, this is the Sabbath. The law prohibits you from picking up your mat. I mean, that's like, come on, bro. I mean, isn't that what you want to say to these Pharisees sometimes? Like, come on now, really? And he replied, the man who made me well told me, pick up your mat and walk. He's like, somebody pretty awesome over yonder told me to pick up my mat, and so I did. I mean, y'all have been around here a long time. Y'all know who I am. You've seen me here by this pool for 38 years. You never helped me. You never helped me before. But this guy came and he just healed me. Told me to pick up my mat and walk. I figured it was the least I could do. The least I could do is just to do what he tells me to do. Oh, who's this man that told you to pick up your mat and walk? They asked. But the man who was healed did not know who it was because Jesus had just slipped away into the crowd that was there. After this, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well. Do not sin anymore so that something worse doesn't happen to you. Now, is Jesus threatening him? Like, you start sinning, man, and your legs are going to stop working again, or, worse. I don't think so. I think he's just warning him of the natural rules of the universe, that sin leads to death, that all of God's laws and principles lead to life, and us obeying Jesus leads us to life, and us sinning leads us to death. So Jesus is just saying, stop sinning so that something worse doesn't happen to you. Like, you think that's bad. You think not being able to walk is bad. You think being stuck on that mat is bad. Let me tell you where sin leads. I think it's like Jesus pointing him to a spiritual reality that is beyond it's beyond what you can see with your eyes. And so this whole stop sinning so that something worse doesn't happen to you is recognizing like that spiritual reality, that eternal reality of what sin does to our souls. So I don't think Jesus is coming after him with a threat. I think Jesus is coming at him with a huge warning that he needs to hear. The man went and reported to the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Come on, bro. I don't know, man. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, why you gotta be, spilling the beans on Jesus? Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. They didn't care. They didn't care that he's revolutionizing people's lives because he's healing them. Come on. Like, really? Somebody that's been lame by a pool for 38 years can now walk and be a productive member of society and probably give them more money, and they don't even care. They're like, no, you did that on the Sabbath, you dirty, rotten scoundrel, you. So it's just clear that the Pharisees had really lost sight. They lost the plot, They just got so wrapped up in the rules and regulations that they just want to go after Jesus for doing good. Key point number 1 today, Jesus had supernatural insight as he came up, and he realized, he saw the man lying there and then asked him a powerful question. And I think it's like to ask ourselves, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, this one's kind of convicting me today, and so it's rough. I'm going to share the conviction with you just because conviction loves company. Like they say, misery loves company, so does conviction. But to ask yourself the question, the thing that maybe there's something in your life you've been stuck with for a long time, and just Jesus coming to you today and saying, do you want to be made well in this area? And really ask yourself to go, what is it in me? What is it in me that even makes Jesus ask me that question? Because sometimes, let's be real, right? Sometimes we have things in our lives that are causing us great problem, but we are not necessarily like showing any action or any indication that we actually want to overcome that thing, to get better, to be healed. So Jesus asks you today, do you want to get better? It's a great question for us to ask ourselves. And then key point number 3, the Sabbath is made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Jesus made the Sabbath not so that it could rule our lives, but so that it could help us rest, recuperate, focus on God. So all of the rules and regulations that they formed around the Sabbath were not in alignment with the spirit of the Sabbath, like why the Sabbath existed, still exists. So I encourage you to have a Sabbath practice in your life where you take a day of the week where you give special attention to the Lord, but it's not meant to be a legalistic, like you can't do anything, because Jesus even asked the Pharisees at one point, like, hey, if your oxen falls into a ditch on the Sabbath, you're going to pull him out, right? Yeah, of course you are. So of course we're going to heal that man's hand. We're going to reach out to someone. We're going to bless someone. We're going to encourage someone. But it's where we're keeping the focus of our hearts. So that's what I had for you today. Hope you are feeling strengthened and encouraged today. God bless you. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.